Thanks, John. It's been very truthful. Great. All right. My name is Shankar. I'm with the data science and engineering team, and I'm going to talk about payment analytics. So I'm more of downstream, how we consume the data, how we use the data to have more efficient payment processing. So I don't know how many of you have seen this code before. This is from Jim Barksdale, who was once a Netscape CEO. If we have data, let's look at data. If all we have are opinions, let's go with mine. I tried to give my opinions, no one listened, so we decided to go with data. Okay, so that's what this presentation. I finished the slides, and then I realized that I didn't have even one number to share with you guys, and I felt very bad. I mean, I cannot share any numbers, and I wanted to do something. So I came into work today, talked to folks, and I found one metric that I think I can share without any big issues for me. And what I thought is I'll actually do it as a trivia for you guys, see if you can guess it, right? And I also have a nice $60 Netflix gift card for whoever can get the correct answer first, okay? So before I get into the trivia, how many of you know what a bin is? Good, a few people. So bin is usually the first 6 digits of your card, credit card or a debit card or a prepaid. So that's where, that's the granularity at which we do analytics here to optimize payment processing, okay? And again, this trivia is for non-Netflix folks. So what's the approximate number of distinct bins that customers use to pay Netflix worldwide? Raise your hands if you know the answer or want to guess an answer and play for a $60 card. Okay, first.
We need 5K.
Nope. Who's going to be the fifth one?
62.99K.
Nope.
100K.
Nope.
40K.
Yes. Who's 40K? And by the way, this might be from our test system. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I think it should work. If not, you can contact Matt. He can make it work. Anyway, the answer is 40K, right? That's the number of bins that we operate on a monthly basis. And basically that means, if you think about it a minute, that's the number of dynamic routing of transactions that you can do, which means there is a lot of scope for using data and then making your processing more and more efficient. All right, so let me get started here. First, a quick overview of what we do. My team, we are about 6 of us. We enable the data-driven decisions for payments. And our main objectives, minimizing involuntary churn. That's our key metric that we track. When people leave Netflix, they can either voluntarily cancel or, if they are not able to pay for Netflix, we cancel them. Our goal is to keep the latter metric to a minimum. How do we do that? By optimizing payment processing, doing a lot of analytics, routing the right transactions to the right processor and with the right attributes and stuff, and then ensure the failures are to a minimum. A third objective is to minimize false positives and negatives due to fraud controls. We have a couple of systems that Matt's team and Rahul's team manage to create velocity check rules and fraud control rules. My team actually works on that data to ensure that false positives and false negatives are kept to a minimum. And our skills, we build data pipeline to enable analytics. For any analytic to be good, first and foremost, you need to have quality data and more granular data available on a timely basis, and our engineers actually focus on that. And then building tools for exploration of data. We have multiple teams at Netflix doing analytics. The data science and engineering team does. The FP&A team does a lot of analytics. We have a science and algorithms team that apply data science and consumer science on payments data. So my team is actually responsible for building the necessary tools, whether it's dashboards or aggregate tables or any other applications, we do that for them. And writing analytical stories on correlation and causation as well. This is indeed very critical. After all the descriptive analytics are done, there is a lot more patterns that are available with more deep learning. So we are trying to emphasize more on finding correlation and causation at those bin levels and come up with new stories. On business processes, so we actually do payment analytics at different levels. So we divide it into different verticals. And the first major vertical is the payment analytics during acquisition. So this is when we are trying to get a new customer on board and trying to get a new method of payment. And there are two primary objectives there. One being that it should be as easy as possible for a customer to submit any method of payment that they want, that we support. Plus also we want to make sure we get quality method of payment so that the future cancel or involuntary churn rate is to a minimum. So we focus a lot on that. The second business process is payment analytics during renewals. So now the customer has signed up, they start paying us on a monthly basis, and then we want to make sure that the failure rate is to a minimum, because when we charge customers, the customer is not present. So if it fails, we don't have them to give us an alternative method of payment. So we work very hard to make sure that the failure rate is to a minimum when we charge them. Then payment analytics after acquisition and renewals. So this is where refunds and chargebacks come through. Why do customers request refunds? Is it very minimum? Is it to an acceptable level? Is chargebacks to an acceptable level? We focus on that as well. Then retail gift. This is a new program that Netflix launched last year, and we focus on analytics on gift retail as well. Some countries like US and Canada, people use gift card or buy gift cards for gifting. But if you take some countries, people use gift cards in lieu of method of payment. So we kind of try to analyze why people are using it and how it's cannibalizing existing method of payments to ensure that the whole program grows. And the last one is processor services. There are a couple of processors, like our payment processors provide account updater and bin metadata and those services to us. My team actually works on that data, analyzes the data, and ensures that those processors work efficiently as well. While we have all these verticals, there are certain things that can happen across all these business processes. Anomaly detection is one such thing. I mean, let's assume like if a bank somewhere in the northeast corner of the country is down and we are doing a batch transaction process, we cannot prevent that decline from happening. But if we can detect it as soon as it happens, we can reduce the impact of that anomaly on our customers. So we focus a lot on anomaly detection. Fraud analytics, we touched on the velocity rules, but velocity can apply across all these business processes. So we monitor each and every business process to ensure that it's all configured properly for us. And then the other horizontal one is the offline and online processing analytics. So offline is a process where we don't do a real-time auth. It's more of a batch-based process. Like if you take direct debit in Europe, where we send the file and it takes 2 or 3 days, or in some cases even a week to get a response back. If we do analytics on it and try to minimize the amount of time taken to get a response, obviously that process is going to get efficient, and it's going to help the bottom line. And issuer analytics. This is again, how is Bank of America performing for us compared to Wells Fargo as far as our key metrics go. That's something that's really critical for our payment managers to take it back to the industry, to the meetups, to the conferences, and then try to improve the relationship with everybody in the industry. And other than common, reporting like approval rates and failure rates and slicing and dicing of data, we also focus on some key insights as well. So I thought I'll share 4 or 5 insights that we try to focus on. First and foremost, on the acquisition side, what type of authorization, $0 or $1 or full, work efficiently for different issuers and processors. Again, by dynamically setting these rules at an issuer or a bin level, there is a lot of scope to get the maximum approval rate for us. What's the best split for routing transactions to different processors? Again, we integrate with multiple processors in almost all regions. We kind of try to do analysis and determine whether it should be a 50-50 split or 70-30 for different transaction types, and then our engineers configure system accordingly. And then is there a specific day and date that has a lower failure rate for certain issuers and bin? Understanding this correlation is really very, very critical. One is it helps us understand how the processing itself works, what our expected metrics need to be, plus also it helps from a forecasting perspective. And how many failures did Netflix save by participating in account updater, especially with a lot of breaches happening in the country last year, Home Depot, Target. Account updater was a great service for us, which gave us updated cards, and just tracking the issuers who participate in it, the issuers who don't participate in it, and how it's been effective for us has really helped us quite a bit. And then last but not the least, were there any anomalies or outliers in payment processing at an issuer level? Again, from an issuer analytics perspective, knowing these anomalies or outliers as early as possible is really critical for us to have an efficient payment processing. Some core dimensions that we care about, method of payment, that's our bread and butter. And we actually have 5 levels on it. Payment type is where we classify it as a credit card or a debit card or a prepaid card. Brand is the card issuer brand, Visa or MasterCard. Issuer location, this is another key dimension for us. We try to see whether the transaction country and the issuer country are the same or different, and thereby see how the performance is. And then issuer and the BIN itself. And then of course payment processor, these are all the processing partners that we integrate with. And then the processor response. I mean, some of you in the payment industry might know, like the same issuer for the same type of transaction can get different responses from different processors. So we analyze at that level and see which response is the most accurate and what do they actually mean. Geography, most of our analytics are done at a country level, and then we roll up to some region dimensions. And then regular calendar stuff. And channel. Channel is mainly from a customer perspective. How did we acquire the customer? Whether it was through a marketing promo, or whether did they just directly come to Netflix.com, or did they search for Netflix and stuff. Final slide on our data flow or our architecture. Matt touched on cloud online payments, and there are some fraud control systems as well. So those are the 2 main sources of data for payment analytics. And our engineering systems actually write it as event streams. And then we have a pipeline which we call Chakwa and a Suro pipeline, which actually take those event streams and then store it as Amazon S3 files for us. So within S3, we actually get a giant JSON array with all the data that we need. And then our engineers take that data and using Hadoop come up with the Hive tables necessary for analytics. And from there, we summarize the data and bring it into Teradata. And then we power MicroStrategy and Tableau on top of it for reporting and analytics. So this is our entire data flow. Questions? Yes?
Yeah, in the first presentation, it was mentioned that there's 9 different payment types. Which of the payment types have the lowest amount of involuntary churn?
We don't share the involuntary churn numbers. We don't break out. I think even in our financial reporting, we just go with net adds. So we don't break out like acquisition versus churn and stuff. So that's purely an internal metric that we have. But if you want to know, you have to come and work for us. So yes.
Your data architecture uses Hadoop, and so there must be quite a bit of latency in the processing. Have you thought of using something like Spark or?
Yes. There are teams within Netflix that use Spark and for real-time analytics and stuff. For example, if you see the booth there and the charts powered there, there are some real-time analytics there. Data science and engineering historically has been focused on what we call strategic analytics. So we are more about looking at the longer term trend and finding the new hypothesis that needs to be done. And having said that, there are use cases where Spark or some of the other real-time technologies that are available can help. And we are actually introducing Spark and Scala in our framework in the coming quarters. Yes. Yes.
You said you could route transactions to different processors, and you mentioned percentage. Do you do beyond just 50% here, 50% there? Do you do by bin level, saying you want to do the auths to one processor, but the charges to the other?
Yeah, there are.
Routing by bin.
Yeah, there are different combinations that are available. I think we actually had a presentation on dynamic routing that we did on Airbnb. I think Murthy, the engineer, did that, and yeah, any kind of combination is possible. Yes. Yes.
You have Teradata, so you move the data from the cloud to your on-premise.
Yes.
Why don't you use Redshift?
We are prototyping Redshift in other areas as well. I think as far as the payment and Teradata is the data mart layer for us right now, but there are some applications where we use Redshift as well, yes. Yeah. All right, thank you guys.